Hello, everyone. That it is very flexible in terms of length of contract. So we have teachers coming to teach for 2 or 3 months, and you can teach for as many years as you want. It's There is a maximum age in which, if you're older than that, you can't qualify for the work permit, and that's about 60 years old. So up until then, you're able to teach for many, many years. We've had teachers who I've been teaching for basically the same amount of time that we've been in organization. So 15, close to 15 years. And they just teach in 1 year contracts every year. But if you wanted to just teach for a couple months, you also have the option of doing that, which is nice. Some people want to like see how they enjoy teaching. It's not things about the talent program is that it is very flexible in terms of length of contract. So we have teachers coming to teach for 2 or 3 months, and you can teach for as many years as you want. There is a maximum age in which, if you're older than that, you can't qualify for the work permit, and that's about 60 years old. So up until then, you're able to teach for many, many years. We've had teachers who have been teaching for basically the same amount of time that we've been in organization. So 15, close to 15 years, and they just teach in 1 year contracts every year. But if you wanted to just teach for a couple months, you also have the option of doing that, which is nice. Some people want to like see how they enjoy teaching. It's not something maybe they have experience with. And so they want to kind of dip their toes in before they commit to a full year. And Thailand gives you that option. We have a 1 week um, culture and language orientation that we do for all of our programs. And this program in Thailand is no exception. So when you arrive, you do a 1 week orientation course with us, and then we send you off to your placement where you're going to be teaching. We also have an online culture component as well. The teachers are typically teaching in public schools throughout Thailand. We do have some private school positions as well, but most of our teachers are teaching in Thai public schools. They're teaching in medium-sized to large towns and cities. So none of our teachers are teaching in very rural areas. They're all teaching in places where there's typically an expat community. They can walk to wherever they need to get to or use local transport. So that's a very important point. And also, you're never going to be the only teacher in your town or in your school. There's always going to be other expat teachers either in your town or in your school with you. In terms of preferences with all of our programs, we actually gather a great deal of personal preference information from each participant. And we do our best to meet your preferences. We can't absolutely guarantee we can meet preferences, and we do ask that teachers be flexible in terms of their expectations. But we have a pretty good track record, and if the preferences are, reasonable, then we have a good track record of meeting them. But we can't guarantee we can meet preferences, and that's something very important to establish. We can place friends together. And also, if people are bringing over pets, it is possible. We don't recommend it, but it is possible to bring pets over to Thailand. And family members, bringing over family, like dependents, is a possibility too. But there are some strong caveats there in terms of what we would recommend in those kinds of situations. But it's certainly not off limits. So it is possible to relocate one's family, but obviously it's something where we need to lay out all the pros and cons and timeline and stuff that's going to make the most sense for you. So that's our teach program details. I will say another point is that there are several months of school holiday in Thailand. So you'll have to bear in mind that there might be 2 to 3 months of the year where you possibly wouldn't be earning a salary. Some schools actually pay during the school breaks because they have like summer school and those kinds of summer activities where students are coming into the school. But there's also a great number of schools where schools are just closed for those 2 to 3 months. And so it's 2 months in March and April and a month in October where schools are typically closed. It's a great opportunity for teachers to do some traveling and resting after a very busy, action-packed semester. But just want to point that out that there are some school breaks, significant school breaks that you would need to be prepared for. So, what are some of the benefits of teaching in the Thailand program? One of the, sorry, I'm just trying to move this out of the way here so I can read it. Here we go. So, one of the main benefits is that the salary is quite good. At about, let's say, $1,000, roughly a little over $1,000, you're considered basically upper middle class in Thailand because the living costs are so low, very little inflation in Thailand. Costs, everything about living from accommodation to transport is cheap. Food is cheap. So you're able to save a significant portion of your salary each month. So while the salary might not seem in in an amount to be high when you compare it with the living costs, it is considered an upper middle class salary for Thailand. As I mentioned, those big summer breaks, some people like them. Some people want to do some traveling, maybe head home for a few weeks or a month during the school break. Others want to try to be employed through as much of that time as possible. Some schools do offer some form of employment during the summer holidays. Others don't. So you need to be prepared for that. Another benefit is you're coming over with a cohort, a group of other teachers like yourself coming on this program, getting a chance to get to know each other. A lot of participants who come on our program after they do the TEFL course or even just an orientation week, they become very closely bonded with the people that they come over with. And they end up becoming really good friends. And then when you go off to your placement, even if you've only been with us for a week doing the orientation, you've made a group of 20, 30 friends who are going to be spread out all over Thailand teaching. And these friends usually come together during major holidays and do some traveling together. Sometimes they visit each other and kind of experience the local vibe in many different parts of the country. So it's a really great extra support structure for our participants. And it's one of the biggest values of coming through a program such as this, as opposed to just trying to like come on your own and try to figure things out and make friends when it can be really difficult to do that. Another benefit is that you'll be placed in our school network. We work with over 1,000 schools in Thailand. We've placed about 7,500 teachers over the last 13 and a half, almost 14 years. And we work with good schools. These are schools that are not going to mess our teachers around. These are schools that are not going to, rip teachers off. We ensure that the teacher is going to get paid their full salary. We take responsibility for that. And our teachers never get taken advantage of. But there are horror stories out there. All you have to do is Google them about teachers who don't get paid by their schools, or their schools try to keep their passports as kind of like this leverage over the teachers so that they don't leave, and like scary stuff like that is out there. And we don't work with schools like that, and schools don't mess with our teachers because we have such a huge number of teachers coming every year that schools know that if they don't treat our teachers well, they're never going to get another teacher from us. And we're the largest organization by far bringing teachers into the country. So we have that leverage, and schools take care of our teachers, and you'll be well taken care of. We also have lifetime placement within our network. This is something that about 20% of all of our teachers use. And what this means is that once you're done a contract, your initial contract, whatever that is, could be 3 or 4 months for Thailand or a year. If you want to be placed in another school in Thailand, or you want to go to Japan or Korea, any country where you are eligible, we place you as many times as you want at no additional cost. So once you're in our network, you get free lifetime placement for as long as we are an organization. And then lastly, savings potential is about $200 to $400 per month, the equivalent of that much in Thai baht. So you can save almost around half your salary each month, and you're still eating out almost every meal. You're living a very comfortable life. You don't have to like really watch your budget, and you can still save money. That's one of the great things about Thailand. Moving on to our Teach Cambodia program. So we bring over about 120 teachers a year to Cambodia, and many of you may have never heard of Cambodia before. It is kind of an up and coming country in Southeast Asia. It's kind of like Thailand 25, 30 years ago. So it's a little bit less developed, a little bit less touristy, but going places fast. And a growing expat community is moving there, and lots of teachers are moving there because there's a lot of demand from schools. And one of the great things about Cambodia is that it is open for non-degree holders, and it's one of our core placement destinations for people who don't have bachelor's degrees. And they get paid really well, as you can see, 1,000 to 1,600 for degree holders per month, and $900 to $1,500 for non-degree holders. So non-degree holders get paid almost as much as degree holders, and they get paid a good salary, even more than teachers in Thailand. Meanwhile, the living costs are quite low. So the difference between Cambodia and Thailand is the contracts in Cambodia are 12 months. So there's no like flexibility for shorter contracts. Everything is 12 months. And we do our 1 week culture and language orientation in Cambodia, just like we do in Thailand. So it's a Khmer language and culture orientation week with other teachers who are arriving. So you get a chance to bond and meet and build a friend network with people who are going to also be teaching in Cambodia. In terms of the benefits of Cambodia, it's like I said, it's a great place for non-degree holders. 90% of our placements are in the capital of Phnom Penh, which is a really quaint, like French colonial city when Cambodia used to be a French colony back in the day. So it's got like wide boulevards and nice cafes and stuff like that. It's just a really quaint city. It's big, but it has like a kind of a comfortable, smaller feel to it. As I mentioned, the salaries are good and the cost of living is really low. So, and also one other point is you're paid in US dollars, which is very strange for teaching abroad. So basically, in every other country where you would teach, especially with us, you get paid in the local currency. But in Cambodia, because they kind of use a dual currency system where they use the local currency as well as the US dollar. So you are actually paid in US dollars and you keep a US dollar account, a bank account that we help you open, which is great for kind of like transferring money out of the country, maintaining value. Living costs are low, so you can save as much or more in Cambodia than you could in Thailand because the cost of living in Cambodia, especially when you're living outside of the city, is cheaper even than Thailand. Um, the work permit process is very easy. It's simple. There's not a lot of paperwork. You don't have to get things legalized and notarized and stuff like that. The only thing you need to bring with you is a copy of your diploma or your high school diploma or your university diploma, and your criminal background check. And no additional legalization, notarization, apostle has to be done to those documents. So it's a very easy work permit and visa process. Again, lifetime placement. You're going to be in our trusted network of schools, and savings potential is quite significant. And when you come over on the orientation week, you're going to come over with a group of peers that are going to go on to teach all throughout Cambodia, although most people are in Phnom Penh. So you're going to have a good network of expat teachers to bond with and experience the country together. Okay, on to our East Asia program. So we're moving out of Southeast Asia, going over to East Asia. We have our Teach South Korea program. This program has been one of our most popular programs because they provide a lot of benefits. And right now, this actually is the only contract option open right now at the moment is 12 months. And you would be teaching with the public school program. 1 year contract includes free furnished housing, generous flight contribution, paid holidays, health insurance, and also when you finish your contract, you actually get, so if you do a 12-month contract, you actually get a 1 month bonus. And salaries are close to $2,000 a month. So you get an extra 2,000, close to $2,000 at the end of your contract. So some of the best benefits and highest pay of any country that I'm aware of, except for maybe China. Um, but it's a great program and a very popular one with expats, including those people from South Africa. In terms of the benefits, I kind of explained those from the start. Accommodations are nice. These are like generally furnished, fully furnished apartments. So you have your own studio apartment or one room efficiency apartment. We do a orientation online and in country. We help you through the process of providing guaranteed placement and helping you through the process of applying to schools and prepping you for interviews so that you have a very, very high likelihood of getting into the public school program in South Korea. And you have free lifetime placement. So if you go teach in South Korea and you want to go on to teach in Thailand next, we'll place you there. No questions asked, no additional fund costs. And vice versa. If you do a program in Thailand, you finish your contract and you want to go to Korea, we'll help get you over to Korea as well. Savings are very high on the high end. You can save up to $1,000 a month because you're not paying your own accommodation, and that's generally your biggest cost. So you could potentially even save more than that if you really watched your budget. But it's just a very popular program because of the salary benefits and because of the high because there's such a big expat community there that you'll be able to connect with as part of the Xplore OBC program. And finally, we talk about the Teach Japan program. This is a program where we bring over, so in Korea, we bring over about 350 teachers a year. And in Japan, it's about 250. It's a newer program. You're earning about $1,500 to $1,750 a month. This would also be in the public school system in Japan. So you'd be teaching in the public school period. Contracts are for 12 months, same as South Korea and Cambodia. So there's no significant break where you're not getting paid like in Thailand. These are contracts that pay you through your entire school year, your entire 12-month contract. You get paid the entire time. You'll have a culture and language orientation online and in country. And yeah, Japan is a great place to teach. On the public school programs, another thing I wanted to mention is that in order to qualify for this program, you need to have a driver's license in South Africa because the schools are going to give you a car to use. So they're going to actually give you a car. It's like 95% fully subsidized with gas as well, because you are going to be teaching in medium-sized towns to large towns where public transport is not good enough to give you the mobility you need to be happy there, because these are like towns like near the mountains and like just not big cities. So when you're placed on this public school program, you're not going to be in like Tokyo or Osaka or something like that. You're going to be in like a large town, someplace in a province of Japan, and you're going to have free use of a car, your sole use of that car, so it's not lent out to anybody else, it's yours. And you're going to be able to save a lot of money, and we're going to help you get set up with an accommodation. And you should be able to save a significant amount of your salary each month, kind of similar to some of our other programs. So savings potential about $150 to $400. I think for the public school program, it's definitely on the high end of that, $400 to $500 per month. So we have our online culture course. We have our in-country culture program orientation. We're going to place you with our schools in Japan. You'll have lifetime placement. So if you're teaching in Japan and you want to go to Korea next, we'll help place you there. If you want to be in Thailand or Cambodia and then head over to Japan, we can make that happen as well. So this is a program in which a degree is required as well. So not only do you need a driver's license, but you also need a bachelor's degree in Korea. and Thailand and Japan programs require a bachelor's degree, and the Cambodia program does not require a bachelor's degree, just so I'm clear on that. And those are some of the benefits of the Japan program. So eligibility is roughly about 21 to 40. If you think about all programs, I think for Korea, definitely that's the case. Japan, slight flexibility on the 40 years old. Thailand's more flexible on the older end. And so is Cambodia. It really just depends. But that's a good range to think about. But for those people who might be older than 40, there's definitely potential to teach. You probably get lots of people in their 50s, 40s and 50s teaching in our network. So don't count yourself out yet. You can talk to Representative OBC and they can discuss options with you. TEFL is required for all of these programs. You can do your TEFL course online. There are maybe options in country as well, but typically you would do it online through OBC. You need to have a certain amount of finances just to get started on the ground. In every country where you're teaching, you get paid once per month. I'm not exactly sure what it is in South Korea. In South Africa, I know in the US, people typically get paid every 2 weeks. But in these programs, you get paid once a month. So you need to bring over enough money with you to get you through your first month of teaching until you get your first paycheck. So we have a very detailed budget guide for each country, line by line, item by item, and then a total at the bottom that says you should come over with this range of funds to get yourself situated, get your accommodation if you have to pay extra for that, like Korea, where accommodation is provided, but in these other countries, we actually need to pay for your accommodation, even though we'll help you find one. And you need to have enough money for food costs and living costs for at least your first month until you get your first paycheck. So definitely want to make sure you have the right amount of finances. Need to be a fluent English speaker, and yes, South African passport holder. So those are some of the eligibility requirements. In terms of application and timing, we do placements all year round in most countries. Although with Japan and Korea, there would be specific intake dates, generally around March and October. So if you're thinking about Japan or Korea, because the October deadline is pretty much passed already, you'd be looking at March 2026 for both of those programs. That's the beginning of the school year in Japan and Korea public schools. For Thailand, we have intake dates almost every month of the year. And Cambodia as well, we have lots and lots of intake dates. So Cambodia and Thailand are a bit more flexible on intake dates. Japan and Korea would be more for the public school intakes in March and October. And in terms of the typical processing time, for Japan and Korea, I'd say 4 to 6 months is a good range. And then, so from the time you sign up and pay your deposit to the time you're actually teaching in Korea or Japan, you're looking at like 4 to 6 months. For Thailand and Cambodia, it could be 2 to 3 months. It could be significantly less time because Japan and Korea have a pretty slow system for getting all the paperwork together. Like the government is it's a bit of a bigger bureaucracy and a lot more red tape that needs to be cut to get you the documents you need to apply for the visa. So that's why the process takes a bit longer in those two countries. And Thailand and Cambodia is a bit more flexible and a bit faster. But that's a little bit about the application and timing. And Robin, do you want to unmute maybe and speak to these last few slides?
Yep, I can do. And then maybe just browse over the chats. I see there's a few questions, but kind of think
Sure.
but while I look at this. Yeah. So guys, we do split up the costs into a application fee, once you are placed, a placement fee, and then the visa. Obviously, there's authentication documents, is visa costs and things like that. And then when it comes time to go, flights and insurance, which we'll do. And generally speaking, budget-wise, I would say that would look in the region of about 40 to 45,000. And then we obviously recommend country to country different amounts of spending money, depending on when your first salary is coming in, depending on if you do or don't have to put down a rent deposit, how many months rent deposit, etc. Also, for example, if you are going to be doing the TEFL with Xplore and you're going to be spending a month in country doing a TEFL course and then moving on to your job, having to work a month or so before money comes in, the recommended spending money will vary. So budget wise, we do have a teach brochure. We will pop it on the chat quickly. It does give you a comprehensive breakdown for each country, but I would say on average, if you have the finances noted around the 85,000 mark, you should be good to go. And then, as I say, each cost is paid at a different time over that 4 to 6 month period. Obviously, also like with Thailand and Cambodia, it can be very quick. And then with South Korea, Japan, it can be a little bit more drawn out as and when you pay. But take a look at the PDF that we've shared on the chat tonight. Each country that we've discussed is listed individually per cost on that side there. Yeah. So hopefully that will answer a lot of the questions. And a large portion of that, to be honest, guys, is the actual settling money, the money that you need once you've arrived in a country, just to get yourself into a place to live and have spending before the money comes in.
Yeah, and just to add a quick point, like, so a significant amount of that is going to a deposit in countries where, you know, which are not Korea, right? You have to pay for your own accommodation, which the deposit you'll get back in full at the end of your contract. So it's kind of like you're putting your money in escrow for a while, but you're going to get that money back.
Exactly.
And then you also have to think about like your living costs for the 1 month until you get your paycheck. Well, usually your paycheck's going to cover you for that month from the previous month. So then when you get your paycheck, you're going to be moving into a new month and you're going to have plenty of money to support your living expenses and then some. So I think it's two quick points on that.
Yes, 100%. Mike, I think I think that's the end of our slides. I think it's just really sharing where the offices are if you have not reached out to an office, if I'm not mistaken. So as you know, we're all over the show. And obviously we're all over socials as well. So please go back to your OVC office that put you up here with us tonight and to have a chat with them further if there's further questions and things. Obviously, we are going to do questions now, but if you want that like one-on-one and you need some extra advice or you'd like to do a pre-screen, so the next step, if you are in and eager, would be to compile an application. We shoot it off to Mike and his team. They will go through your qualifications, your little video, your resume, and have a look at the plans behind your situation and give us the green light as to whether they believe you will be able to be placed in whichever country it is that you're applying for. And from there, we will take the next steps. So we will guide you, we'll pre-screen you, we'll obviously make sure that you qualify before any sort of money moves over a table and we know we can help you or not. Mike, over to those questions. I think there was like degree diploma questions and things like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so as I kind of mentioned, for Cambodia, a degree is not required, nor is a diploma. But for Thailand, Japan, and South Korea, it does require a 4-year bachelor's degree. So the word, the diploma, the certificate, has to have the word bachelor's on it. So unfortunately, even if it's like a 3-year diploma and like an advanced diploma that says the word diploma on it, unfortunately, that would not be sufficient for those 3 countries, Thailand, South Korea, and Japan. So would have to say bachelor's degree on it.
Mm-hmm. Mike, while we're talking degrees and the TEFL, what's the requirements again for your Japan and South Korea when it comes to somebody who's got an education degree and having or not having a TEFL course?
Yeah, so if you have an education degree, you would be exempt from having a TEFL course. So that's an important point. So if you have a bachelor's degree in education, then you would not need to have a TOEFL course for any of the countries, frankly, where we're teaching.
Okay.
Now, we still do recommend it
Mhm.
because, teaching English may not be the focus of your education degree. And teaching English in Asia is kind of a unique environment, and a lot of the students have unique learning needs and capabilities. So I think it's still beneficial. I mean, I've had people with master's degrees in education from the UK take our course, love our course, and then eventually go on to teach our course to other
Mhm.
teachers. So because they thought the course was so valuable. So there is definitely a benefit no matter what kind of education credentials you have, because it's good to get that experience and have that confidence going into it. But yes, if somebody's got an education degree, they would be exempt from the TEFL course.
Okay. What
Would
else
you
is
be able to be placed into the same school or schools in a close proximity to a partner who's also a teacher? Yes, if you're traveling together. But let me clarify. In Japan and Korea, no, it's not possible to be placed near your partner. And the only way that I would recommend you coming over with a partner or friend to be placed in Japan and Korea is if you're willing to live separately, potentially fairly far away. Although Korea is a lot smaller geographically than South Korea is a lot smaller geographically than Japan, and you have the bullet train, so it's easy to get around the country in a couple hours. Do not expect to be placed together or anywhere near or be able to live in the same apartment with your partner. It's extremely difficult for Japan and Korea. For Thailand, it is possible, and we can facilitate that as long as you're really flexible on location and age group. So if you've got a lot of preferences, like location preferences, age group preferences, and you got to be placed together, that makes things really difficult. Our first priority is going to be placing you together, and then once we've got those kinds of options, then we can start drilling down into maybe some other preferences you have. But we're going to be focused on that. But yes, we can place partners and friends together. Let's see here. If you have a diploma, can one qualify? Yes, you can. Do you have to be doing the TEFL through you guys? No, we don't require that, right? Robin, you don't necessarily have to do the TEFL through us. There are a few TEFL courses that we don't accept
Mhm.
because there's a lot of cheap, poor quality TEFL courses out there. So if you see a TEFL course and you're like, $25, I can get a TEFL course, don't even waste your money because there's no human interaction, there's no feedback. It's just one of these click through courses, and you're not going to learn anything. And we know it, and the schools know it. And so we want to make sure, and OVC has a good online TEFL that is one we do accept. We want to make sure you do a TEFL where you're actually going to be prepared. So before you decide on a third party TEFL course, please contact OVC, make sure it's on the list, that it's not on the list of, there's only about 10 that we don't accept worldwide, which is a pretty small sample out of the overall number of courses. Make sure you check with them before you purchase a third party course, and don't spend anything less than $150 on a course. Anything less than that, I feel like it's you're just not going to get any value there in terms of what you're going to be learning, and it's just not worth your time, frankly. So um, let's see here. You have teaching opportunities for teachers other than subjects. Yes, absolutely. Like in Thailand and in Cambodia. One of the things I will mention about Cambodia is, and it makes it even more important that you have a good quality TEFL course, is you're not teaching just English. You're teaching multiple subjects in English to very young kids. So it's like, I can't teach math. Well, you could probably teach math to like a kid who's like 6 or 7 years old, right? I mean, we're not talking about algebra here, you know? So it's like very basic math and science to very young children. However, in doing that, it's good to have a good quality TEFL course because you're going to need to be teaching these multiple subjects unless you have an education degree. So yes, if you like teaching math and science, Thailand and Cambodia, there's a lot of opportunity to do that, but not in Japan and Korea. That's where you're strictly teaching English in Japan and Korea. There's no opportunities to teach other subjects. Um, yes, so for South Korea, there is a requirement to show that you were taught in English as the first language, as a primary language up through your schooling. If that isn't the case, then that might be a challenge. But I can provide more detail on that. But yes, you would have to have learned in English as the primary mode of language instruction for 12 years. Do you have to be placed in another country after your country, or you can renew? No, you can go on teaching in none of these countries, none of these four countries has any kind of limit on the number of contracts that you can teach, or the length of time. The only thing that you run into with length of time is retirement ages and what different countries feel like is a time, acceptable retirement age. And so, for example, in Thailand, they don't really issue work permits to teachers over the ages of 60, over the age of 60, although there are some exceptions there. So each country has a soft or hard cap on age wise, how long you can teach in a country, but it's not like a working holiday visa or something like that where it's got a finite time. As long as you're a teacher in good standing and you complete your contract and take your role seriously and are in good standing with your school, you can teach as many contracts as you want in the same school or move around to different schools. Sorry, I see somebody answering that question. Yeah, TEFL course, yeah, is a certificate course. We have 120 hours, which is the standard, and it's the minimum for a lot of countries. And ours is internationally accredited by the UK government's adult education accrediting body. It's called OFQUAL, OFQUAL. It's one of the highest accreditations that you can get in the industry. And basically just teaches you everything you need to know about teaching English as a second language, from the theory to the strategy, lesson planning, and most courses, especially the ones you do in country, like in Thailand, there's also a teaching practicum where you actually get to practice teaching under the watchful eye of your instructor for a while and get some feedback so you can kind of hone your skills and improve before you step out into the real world as a teacher. It gives you a bit more confidence that you're gonna do well. So that's a type of course. I have had teachers teach in places like Cambodia, and then they're still taking a few courses at like UNISA and stuff like that. It is possible to do that. I don't know that you would want to be full time studying and then teaching in Cambodia. That might be a challenge. But taking a few courses like part time and going to like a testing center. I think they like work with testing centers. I don't know if they have them in Cambodia, but they definitely do in Thailand. I'm pretty sure teachers have had to fly from other countries in the region into Thailand to do these tests for UNISA. But yeah, it is definitely possible to juggle that. But I would say start really small scale with just one or two courses a semester, and don't push yourself because you're going to be having a lot to get used to in teaching abroad. And you want to master that first so that you know you're doing a good job. And then you can see what kind of free time you have. And then you can fill that up accordingly with whatever course load you think you can handle. Can you hear me?
Oh,
I have to
I
change.
can hear you now, but when you put your ears in, it kind of went away or whatever you did again.
Yeah. So in terms of travel cost, for every country except for Korea, you have to pay for your own travel costs. Korea does reimburse a significant amount of your flight expense, your one-way flight expense to Korea. But other countries, teachers have to fund their own travel.
Mike, on the refund of the flight, I know that different schools are different. So sometimes it's after the first month, and then sometimes at the end of a contract or something like that, right?
Yes, for Korea, I think it's at the end of your first month of teaching.
Okay. Okay.
That you just get it in your first paycheck.
Paycheck. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I'm not going to get into exactly what courses we accept and don't accept, but there is a list, and I believe, Robin, that you have that, and you're welcome
Hmm.
to distribute that.
Yeah, we can
I
do
don't
that.
have anything against these courses and the people that created them. I just, as somebody who actually has to place thousands of teachers a year in schools, I get a lot of feedback from schools.
Hmm.
Who's prepared? Who's not prepared? Who's doing a good job? Who's not? And usually, so preparation is something I have to really make sure of. Whereas a lot of online TEFL schools, they don't really ever know what happens to their teachers after they get the certificate. Like they don't have that feedback loop like I do. So if a teacher's unprepared, I hear about it from the school. So that's why I put a little bit more emphasis on good quality online TEFLs. So Robin's got that list and she can distribute that to everyone. So I'll just leave it at that.
Mhm.
I think I got to every question, but does anybody else have any questions I can
Oh,
help
there's
answer?
what's this last one? Distance learning for bachelor's and foundation is it possible? So distance versus in classroom teaching? Sorry, when you're getting your degree, if you're doing distance or in university, is there a difference as long as you've got your bachelor's degree at the end of the day?
No, no difference. Yeah, as long as you have your bachelor's degree, nobody's looking for what format you learned.
Okay,
Um,
perfect.
Good question, actually.
Oh, and then Mike, with regards to just setting minds at ease after a pre-screen, are you pretty much 99.99999% sure that past a pre-screen, a candidate will get placed, and you're not going to accept a candidate after pre-screening that will not get placed?
Yeah, 100%. We don't, everyone gets placed.
Okay.
If we accept you on the program, you're going to get placed in a job.
Okay.
That's a guarantee.
Good stuff.
So
Good.
that's why sometimes we say, "Oh, can I get a recording of you with the accents?" Like, I just want to check that because we want to make sure that if we bring you over, we're going to definitely be able to place you. So that's why sometimes the pre-screening can be a bit more in depth, but that's just because we need to promise you that. That's our promise. That's our
Yeah.
guarantee. So, but yes, everyone gets placed.
And I know that in the past, from personal experience, if you have pre-screened one or two of my applicants and suggested a different country because you know that their first choice was not going to work 400% sure. And it was a case
That's
of
right.
you've got a better chance trying this
That's
first,
right.
and then maybe we
Yeah.
can look at that later, kind of thing, after you've got
Right.
experience. Cool.
Right. Yes. Experience is something that is important in some countries more than in others. But yes, we have 8 countries that we place teachers in around the world. So sometimes when you might your first choice of country just might not be the right fit for you at that time, and we're
Yes.
going to guide you where we think would be the best fit for you.
Mm.
With the idea that yeah, down the line you might build up to the point where you can be placed in that country, which was your primary choice.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, you have been a wealth of knowledge and we appreciate your time. It's
Thank you, everyone.
without a
Yeah, I
rock,
hope.
bit of a rocky start in the beginning. The session was streamed and recorded. So if anybody missed anything, I think people were in and out. We do have 90% of 95% recorded. Yeah,
Good.
over to you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, everyone, and hope to see you on one of our programs soon. And yeah, hope you found this useful. So thank
Thank
you.
you. Of course, we'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody.
Sure. Take care. Bye
Bye.
bye.